Welcome to the Unfolding You podcast. I'm Erin Smylie Walsh, and I'm thrilled to invite you on a transformative journey of self-discovery and faith. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Unfolding You podcast with me, your host, Erin Smylie Walsh. So last week we spoke around our identity. And it was around who you are. And this week, we're going to be talking about where you are, your calling as this faithful presence that the Lord has placed you. And today is really called where your feet are. And it's around practicing elements of being grounded and called where you are. There's a calling of this faithful presence, and like God reminds us and meets us in the ordinary. We think this calling is really like beyond where we are. So it's like, okay, I've got to get to my calling, or I'm working towards my calling. But what if your calling really is where you're currently grounded? Have you ever thought of it like that? Because I think we often forget that. We forget that it's about where we currently at, that we can still have an impact in that space, not just where we think we need to get to. And so that's really where I want to meet us today. And we're going to map out 3 circles and just choose one small yes and one protective no. In our practical applications today. So, can you relate? And I'm going to pull this as a reference to mothering because it's just so prevalent to my life. But can you imagine the hustle and the bustle at home in trying to get your kids up and ready for school? This mad rush, this caught in the grind, packing school lunches, getting kids dressed, making sure they brush their teeth, brush their hair, wash their face. You always have backup packs of wet wipes in the car in case someone forgot to wash their face. Do they have the shoes? Have we packed the lunch boxes in the bag? Is your bag packed and ready for your timetable for the day? Do you have sports? Are there extramurals? And boom, boom, boom. You're moving the whole time. And this element of overwhelm. And you're surely am I called for more than this? This begging and pleading and get your shoes on. Let's get in the car. Have you brushed your this never-ending cycle of questions. And what if we just took a moment and we were if we looked at it as our calling in that moment, what can we do in that space that gives of ourselves beyond our feelings? And that is quite a thing, because calling really is about being faithfully present in that moment. And being faithfully present as a mom and with your kids is where you're at. Now, you can relate that to your work environment, a team dynamic, having to manage people. But if we start shifting our perspective towards calling, we start looking at the opportunities that day-to-day living can actually present to us in our calling. So our scripture today, I want to take us to Jeremiah 29, verse 7. And let me grab it there. And a lot of us know Jeremiah 29, verse 11. But we are taking it a little step ahead of that. And I'm going to read it to us now. Jeremiah 29, verse 7. And I'm reading from the NLT. And work for the peace and prosperity of the city where I sent you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, for its welfare will determine your welfare. And again, I'll just read that. And sometimes we marked with this element of, I give of myself for everyone else. And what do I get in return? But yeah, literally saying, for its welfare, pray to the Lord for it, for its welfare will determine your welfare. And isn't it changing our perspective again? What are we giving? And what do we receive from that giving? And that really is the element of calling. And now I'm going to take us to Colossians. And it's Colossians 3, verse 23. Work willingly at whatever you do, as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people. And there again, stipulating, it's not about us. It's about what it is we're doing in that moment for the Lord in that moment. And it's not about what we're receiving back. It's about what we're giving. And what we give will change how it comes back. So I'm going to look at 3 circles of calling. Our first one are the people. And so if we look at our call, who is right in front of us? That's our calling. To honor the people that are right in front of us. That for me would be my immediate family. So my husband and my girls. And then it would be my extended family. It would be my church family, my clients, and my connections. And then you. So who's in front of you? Then we look at the place. So where are your feet planted? So this is where are you currently planted. So is it your work environment? Is it your gospel community, your Bible study, your church, your friendship circle, your work, your sporting activities? Where are your feet planted? And then the provision. What resources or time are in your hands? So is it the work that you do within your workplace? Is it where you volunteer? Is it making sandwiches for your kids for school, packing lunch boxes? Is it cooking for your family? Is it baking for a friend or cooking a meal for a friend? What is the provision? And those 3 circles help us identify our calling in the moment. Not all the way there. It's where are our feet planted? Because that is our immediate calling. It may be a season. It may be a future element. And that for me is encouraging. Because for someone that struggles to think about the bigger picture or think about tasks ahead, if you start breaking it down to these 3 circles of calling, your people, your place, and your provision, you start breaking down the overwhelm that you're going to face. Now, I want you to ask yourself these two questions. Where are your feet? And what's your next right, yes or no? Okay, where are your feet and what is your next right, yes or no? And in that, what you're going to be able to do is position an element of getting rid of the clutter and going, is this going to serve where I'm currently at? And can I give of that to someone else? Or is this going to take focus away? Or is this not really directing to my calling, to where my feet are currently planted? And then you can start giving yourself grace, where you go, right, well, this is now going to impact a number of others, or this could just impact one. And where are you placed in that? I always encourage boundaries as being viewed as love. And oftentimes people have looked at boundaries as someone being difficult, or you being selfish. But saying no can often protect our yes. And if we look at it like that, we start looking at our boundaries differently. Where are we reserving our energy so that yes is then easier, because we're not depleted by something that is beyond our calling and where we are currently at. So I want to unpack some practicing examples for you going into the week. And I want you to outline your assignment in prayer every morning. What is my assignment today? Because in that, you know where you're going, you know a range of your day, but pray for your assignment each morning. Lord, give me the eyes to see where you want me to serve you today, where I'm currently placed, where my feet are planted, so that I can lean into my calling that you are putting in my way and in my place. And you're putting people and opportunities in order to, again, refer back to your 3 circles, where you have the people, your place, and your provision. And if you start referencing that each time you pray in the morning over your assignment, the clarity is so much clearer and better for you in that space. And then list 3 people you want to serve this week. It could be someone that's been on your heart. It could be somebody that is struggling. It could be your kids. It could be a family friend. Who are 3 people you want to serve this week? And how are you going to serve them? Again, go back to your 3 circles. And then I want you to have a 1 yes and a 1 no. What are you saying no to with conviction that is going to give you the freedom to say yes to something else? That could be hard, because especially if you're that type of person that just, you say yes to everyone, saying no could actually come as a shock to someone else. So pray over that this week and practice that this week, because that again goes back to your calling. Our table talk today is, if your calling was a job title, if your calling wasn't a job title, What would it look like today? And I think this is where a lot of people get confused. They think calling is my job. But your calling doesn't have to be your job. Your job is your job. Your calling is, what do you position and give of yourself within your job? You're now in your job, and there again, people, place, provision. That is your calling. So don't confuse the two, because that is where our identity also gets a little bit blurred, because we think our identity lies within our job and our calling is linked to the job. So think over that this week. I hope this has given you permission to just be small but faithful today. Faithful in who you're going to serve, faithful in who you're going to say, what you're going to say no to, and what you're going to say yes to. And faithful in where your feet are planted, you can give of yourself within that calling. And I'm really challenging you on your assignment prayer, because that's just going to give you the energy to move through the day with intention, with like you are laser focused on where you can move in your calling, and just serving people intentionally. Not because I have to pack school lunches again, but wow, I get to pack school lunches again. I get to pack my children's lunches with intention and pray over them, because that again is our calling, especially as mothers, to lead our children in the ways of the Lord and to disciple them in that space. I really want to encourage you, if this has spoken to you in any way, that you are able to share this with somebody, to encourage them, that you take this in a space of encouragement and giving you freedom to position yourself in a different, reframed space when it comes to your calling. And not hoping for what is to come, but being faithful in where you currently are. And again, if your life was this highlight reel, what if your calling isn't out there? What if it's exactly where your feet currently are? And I want to give that to you as an element of encouragement. Thanks for joining us, and I hope to see you next week. Bye.